welcome back to another episode on Proven Power Cycles. Now, admittedly, I have not filmed at all this week. Sorry about it. We are super slammed, and not only that, but I have some major things going on in my personal life, a big move that we got going on, so it's been pretty stressful, and I'm gonna do a little bit better, but we'll make up for it today. We'll go over some of the bikes and some of the things that we've been doing right now, and get you all caught up to speed. So, without further ado, let's go over some of these bikes. All right, the first one, we have a 2022 BMW S1000RR. Now, we just got done doing the ECU flash and dyno tune on this thing. The owner is currently on his way. They live about 3 hours away, so, but he is currently on the way. He wants to come feel it out and everything. I'm not gonna give any numbers, but this thing is a monster after we tuned it. So, very excited. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while. Could not get anybody to commit. You know, they got cold feet for whatever reason, but we ended up getting him to commit, and I'm very thankful that he came through. Very glad that he gave us the opportunity, because not only did it make power, but the thing rides great, I feel like. But we'll find out. He's gonna, like I said, he's on his way. He's gonna come test drive it. He does have some mods done to the bike already. He has a full aero exhaust. Obviously, he's got the chain and sprocket kit, but it is still a 525. This is an mpackage BMW, so there are some goodies like the wheels and some other electronic suspension. There are some cool little goodies on this bike already. So, but either way, very nice bike. He's on his way. Can't wait to see what he's gonna say. We'll update you guys a little bit later after the test drive on that one. So I feel like that's gonna be pretty fun to catch his reaction when he comes back. This is a ZX10R. This is a 2016 ZX10R, and this one's in for valve adjustment, new clutch, and a few other little odds and ends. He was in an accident with the bike, hence all these fairings, these crazy fairings. But he was in an accident, and he wants to make sure. There's like a few little things he wants us to keep an eye on. But all in all, valve adjustment, clutch, and then eventually he said he wants to get it checked out on the dyno, because he said it's been tuned, but he doesn't know. He wants to just check and see what's up with it. So here we have an FZ1. Again, more maintenance work. We got a valve adjustment going on with this one. We actually think he's got a bad valve in here. There's one that was a little funky, really far out of adjustment, and we're not really sure why. So we're gonna talk to him, get a little bit more information. We're gonna go through a compression test on this thing, just see how everything looks, and just, you know, again, just try to make sure that everything looks okay and there's nothing that we're missing. So we usually try to go a little extra on some of these bikes and get people information, as much information as we can. So we got a little grom in. Nothing super crazy. It's a stock motor, but it's clean. It's only got like 600 miles on it. This particular owner wants us to do just a few little mods. Yeah, 500 miles on it. He wants us to do a few little mods. We're gonna do like a little integrated tail light. We're gonna dyno tune it, and then he wants to put some knobbies, some off-roading tires on there. So he wants to do more of an off-road style look, I guess. And he lives up in more of a secluded area in Florida. He's also about 2.5 hours away, and he lives kind of in the woods, so more of a woodsy area, I should say. So he wants the knobby tires on there so he can kind of do a little off-roading if he wants to, you know, little trails and stuff. So that'll be pretty cool. So we're gonna tune that one, actually. This Busa, we actually are in the middle of making a video on this. We did some testing on velocity stacks, and we also are going to change out this chain and sprocket kit. He made it a little laggy, so he wanted more top-end power, or top-end mile an hour, I should say. However, I think he went a little too crazy based on the power level that this thing makes. So if we were to bump this thing up another 20 horsepower, 30 horsepower, I think this gearing would be perfect, but it is a little underpowered for the gearing that he has. For those of you wondering, it's an OEM front and a 40 rear. So what we're gonna do is just go right back to OEM. So with the kind of driving that he does, I think he'll enjoy just the OEM gear set on it. So anyway, we got that one going on. We do have this Grudge Busa in. This is actually kind of like a shop friend of ours. This is one of their Grudge Busas. They have well, they're building a couple, I should say, but we're getting ready to redo the fuel system. They had more or less a stock fuel system with just an upgraded pump. They put new injectors in thinking they had an injector issue, but turns out this newer pump that they even put in there we're still having issues with it. So we recommended to go to a full external fuel pump system. They agreed. They said, let's do it. So right now we just ordered some of the parts. We're waiting for them to come in, and then we'll undergo this project as well. I know I've said this before, but I have yet to have any kind of time to get to this. Today I'm at a point, so after I do the filming today, I'm going to get back on this and actually start to degree these cams in. So it's all set up, everything's ready to go. I just literally need to go and do it. So and then the motor is going to go back in my bike, and I actually have a very cool update for you guys for my bike. I'm not going to give it away yet because I'm really excited about it. I don't want to say anything. These guys know. I've already kind of talked to them. But I have a really cool update coming for my bike. I am beyond excited. I cannot wait. I'm really excited. So we'll see. But I'm going to update you guys later on that one, okay? Because I'm still working out the details. I'm still trying to like plan it out and get it all figured out before I pull the trigger on it. There's some things I need to do and all that jazz. So I'm going to probably do that while we're doing this engine. So that way when the motor's all in and everything's ready to go, we can just kind of, I won't be down any much longer, I should say. I should be able to get the bike and keep it moving. Sorry, we got all Brandonetian over here.
I'm coming over here to tell you there's a bunch of Chevys here and you're the Ford, so that means you gotta sell your truck.
I'm the special one.
No.
Don't act like you weren't comfy in there.
I was not.
I know you are.
I'm leaving.
Bye. Bye, Felicia. Don't act like you're not impressed. So this bike came in recently. I'm not sure if this was in the vlog earlier or not, but this one did come in earlier, recently, with some really, honestly, some minor issues, but it was enough to kind of, he does a lot of not daily driving, but kind of like a city driving, I guess, if you will, and a lot of cruising with this bike. So light to light and then holding steady RPMs for extended amount of time. Anyway, he just had some hesitations from his previous mail-in flash. We were able to wire up the bike and we re-dyno tuned it, cleaned up his chain and sprocket, the rear wheel, did all that for him. It should be good to go. Everything should be good to go on this. He's picking up tomorrow. We got this MT-09, so we're waiting on a few parts. We got the bike started last week, but it didn't want to give us any throttle input, and it was throwing a check engine for the actual TPS sensor. So we ordered another one. We'll see. Yamahas are a little finicky with their electronics, so we'll see. Sometimes they'll throw a code for one thing, and it won't be that thing. It'll be something else that controls that thing. Like, could be an ECU. It could be another throttle positioning sensor. We're not really sure. Sometimes it's in the wiring. Yeah, again, these are kind of finicky with the wiring. I'm not a big fan of Yamaha wiring, and usually there's an electrical issue that's kind of crazy. So we'll get it figured out. But anyway, we got the motor in from SRW. So for those of you who've been following our channel, this motor is for the Landspeed bike, the ZX14R. We finally got the motor back. We have some big news for this thing. Big news. I cannot wait to show you guys, but this one's going much bigger setup and much more power. I'm really excited about it. We're gonna show you guys what's going on with that here soon. Once we start getting the rest of the parts in and we start piecing it together, we're gonna start making more videos on that bike. So we also have our 05 Turbo gsxr 1000. A couple little updates on that. We sent out the downpipe. We got a wideband bung welded into that. So whenever we do come down to dyno tuning, we have a nice reference point, if you will. Also, if you notice, the turbo is actually missing. So we did a little bit of inspections on the turbo, and the turbo was pretty much blown. So basically what we're gonna do with this one, his thrust bearing was damaged and it had some in and out play. Now on turbos, you can have a little bit of side to side, wiggle. That side to side wiggle, that's okay, because that is kind of like your bearing clearances. There's a little gap in there between the bearing and the shaft and all that jazz. So when you wiggle, you can have a little bit of side to side, because once the oil pressure and once the oil comes in there and it fills up that center cartridge, it's gonna float that shaft a little bit, and the clearances are going to get a little tightened up because now the oil is passing through it, right? With that being said, he had in and out play. So basically, if the turbo is sitting sideways, it's going this way, in and out. and that is not good. That is your thrust bearing going bad. That needs to be rebuilt. The cool part about all of that is it was an older turbo, and so Boost Lab, the company we went to talk about the turbos between the Landspeed bike and this bike, we went over the whole turbo, we dissected it, a wealth of information. Honestly, I couldn't ask for anything more. I really appreciate Kirk. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you ever see this video, I really appreciate you taking the time to explain stuff to me. I learned a lot. Thank you so much. And so basically, if you have any of that side-to-side play, it needs to be rebuilt. So when he was looking at it, he was like, hey, this is an old wheel. It's cast, it's shitty. They have new billet wheels, much better wheels too. So he was like, man, I got this billet wheel. It's a much better upgrade. I'll give you a deal. Let's make it happen. We can get this thing rebuilt. This thing will be night and day different on a turbo standpoint, making power. It'll be great. So, and it's going to be perfect for what this guy wants. So he only wants around 300 wheel. We'll get him that 300 wheel, no problem. Once this turbo is all rebuilt, I will have the utmost super confidence that this thing's going to be a beast. So there's just a few other little things that we need to do to the bike, but all in all, this thing, I'm really excited to get this thing wrapped up and on the dyno and seeing what it's going to do. So it is Friday now, and we are wrapping up the week. Admittedly, again, I did not film that much this week. We have been insanely busy. We have a lot of big projects, which means I have a lot of really cool updates for you guys. But again, we've just been really, really busy, so it's been very difficult to film. So real quick, I'm just going to take you over what we have here at the end of the week, and we'll go over some of the bikes and see, just to show you guys kind of like what we're working on real quick, and we'll go from there. So first and foremost, we got the almighty Grom on the dyno. Now the dyno is a wreck. We have stuff laid out everywhere. It's been busy, like I said. So we have the Grom on the dyno. We were just going to tune it and do like an integrated taillight and some little minor things, but come to find out, he's actually got a fuel pump issue on this one. We're having a loss of fuel pressure. So long story short, we're going to clean that up and potentially swap that out to ensure that we have a good running fuel system in there. We're going to clean out his lines and some other odds and ends. The bike sat for about 6 years. So naturally, this is kind of what happens when bikes sit. So it gets gummed up in there, and it's kind of really difficult to clean out all the filters and everything inside of there. So we're going to try and do our best. We'll see what we can do. But anyway, we have that going on. The Busa, we are waiting on the chain and sprocket kit for this. We've already ordered it. We're going to go with a driven rear, driven front sprocket with an EK chain. The FZ1, so this one was interesting. He has some kind of funky issue with one of his valves. We had to put an abnormally large shim in there, and it looks like there's a little bit of, I don't want to say damage, but it just looks a little abnormal on one of the intake valves. Now these, in case you guys didn't know this, these older FZ1s and the older R1s were actually 5 valves per cylinder. You have 3 intake and 2 exhaust valves per cylinder. So it's a little intricate of a system, very crammed. But anyway, one of those center valves on, I forgot what cylinder now. Lewis has got all the information, but one of those is abnormally out of spec. So it looks a little sunken. So it might have an issue with the spring. We might have a slightly bent valve. We're not really sure. He doesn't know if anyone's done the valve adjustment. This has got 38,000. It's got a lot. 35,000 miles on it. So he's got 35,000 miles, and I'm going to go ahead and go on a whim and say that the valves have never been done on this bike, given that how bad they were. So we've notified him. He said just go ahead and throw it back together. We've already kind of informed him what we would do, which is pull the head and inspect and see what's going on, measure that valve, and replace if necessary. He doesn't want to go through it, which, you know, because it's a little pricey to do all of that. He said he's just going to live with it, but we've already informed him of everything. So we're just going to put this one back together and send him on his way. So we have the MT-09. We're waiting on parts for this. But we did get it up and running. It is idling. This other shop, I don't know who it was, but they told him that the motor was blown and they needed to disassemble this engine and break it down and go through it. It wasn't. It wasn't blown. So anyway, we got it starting and running. He's just having some codes for basically his throttle actuator. So his TPS, And he had another code for a coil. So we're going through it. We're kind of slowly chipping away at this one. So we're waiting on some other miscellaneous parts that he's missing on the bike, but we've got all that ordered up. Lewis is balls deep on this one. He's got the ZX10 all stripped down. He has started on the valve adjustment. I'm getting ready to cover this up. I'm getting ready to leave, so I'm going to cover this bad boy up. But he's got everything prepped. We got the new clutch in. So the clutch that came out of this engine was actually a hodgepodge of miscellaneous clutch plates. They were all burnt. The clutch was installed improperly, whoever did this last. And a crazy surprise that this guy didn't know about, but he's actually got a 19 and or a 2020 engine, which this is a 2016 bike. And for those of you who don't really know ZX10s, the 2019 and the 2020 motors are what's referred to as a red top motor. And what that means, and if you guys are in the Honda world back in the day, you know, you had the Civic Type R's with the red valve cover. That's basically what that is. It's a red valve cover. They call them red top motors. But basically, it's a much better, well, it's a little bit better of a cylinder head. You have finger followers, as you can kind of see in here. This is the newer style motor with finger followers and not the shim under bucket. So there's a finger follower and then a shim under it. So the older models were all shim under bucket. With the finger followers, they could put larger camshafts in there, and so it enabled them again to put basically better cams in from factory. So these are slightly better cams than the older Gen 5 motors. So the guy didn't even know that. The customer had no idea. He's like, dude, I had no idea. So surprise, surprise, you've got a much better motor than you even realized that you had. So anyway, we're going to get, Lewis is going through this now. We're going to get that figured out here soon. So another little update here, guys. And sorry, it's allergy season again, I feel like. But another little update here that we haven't updated you guys on in a while now is the landspeed bike. So we did get the engine back. We've talked to the owner. We're going to upgrade the turbo, and there's a few other little odds and ends that we're changing. When I say a few, I mean a lot. We're changing basically all of it. So there's going to be a massive change in this bike. You know, I think the last time we ended it, and we'll overlay the graphs, but the last time we ended it, it was around like 230, 240 horsepower. With this new setup, we should be around the 400 to 450 horsepower mark. So provided that everything goes good. With that being said, there is a ton of things that we are changing on the bike. We're going with a max ECU. We got the frame welded up. We're also going to be sealing the rest of the frame that hasn't been welded. We're going to be sealing that up. We have the motor. It was built by SRW. So we do have the motor here. We're waiting on the frame to come back, and we are also waiting on the max ECU. We've also ordered quite a few other little odds and ends. We're changing the coil setup. We're changing the fueling setup. We're changing everything. The only thing that's not really changing currently is just the turbo setup, because we really need to go to a bigger turbo, right? So we're upgrading the turbo just slightly. We're going to a slightly bigger, it's like 2 or 3 mil, no, it's like I want to say it's like 4 millimeter or 6 millimeter bigger wheel with a slightly larger AR housing. So it's going to be a little bit bigger of a turbo. Same kind of footprint, but just a little bit bigger. So we're going to install that. And that's why we're only getting around 450, because that's about as much as we can push on this stock. That's about how much we can push on the turbo kit that's currently on the bike that we currently have. So if we want to make more power, we have to completely revamp this turbo system, which is going to be expensive and very time consuming, because not a lot of people can do this. So it gets a little trickier the deeper you go down the rabbit hole, and the wait time gets a little bit longer because there's not a lot of people that offer these types of services. So with that being said, we're going to maximize the turbo kit that we can currently. This is the game plan, and then we're going to go from there. So we are changing the fueling. We were originally just going to run it on like a Q16, C16 type or E85, something like that. Now, after going back and forth, we're going to run full methanol. So the fuel system has to get completely beefed up. The whole thing has to get revamped. We're only on a 6AN with like a Walbro 255 pump. Like we were only supported for like 350-ish, depending on the fuel that we're running, of course. But Now we're gonna have a fuel system capable of about 1,000 horsepower. So the end goal on this bike is going to be around the 600 to 650 horsepower range. But again, that is end goal. Keep that, not immediately, that's gonna be the end goal. So like we were talking about earlier, right now we're looking around 4 to 450 range. So we will update you guys next week. We have a ton of stuff going on next week. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for your support. Thank you so much. I know it's been a little crazy lately. We're trying to get in our groove of things here. We're trying to figure out what you guys like to see. We're trying to see what works, what doesn't work. So if you guys could, please leave us the feedback. We really enjoy it. We really hear you guys. We really take notes, what you guys are saying. So please tell us, what we need to work on, and also what you like to see. So if it's more rides, if it's bike meets, things like that. We have the ZX10. We're still chipping away at that. We've just been very strapped for time, but we're gonna try to make more bike nights. We're gonna go race. I got my ZX14R, the turbo one. It is running pretty good now. I'm at least getting some times on it. I'm gonna be uploading some videos of it racing here soon. We got big plans for a lot of bikes. So please follow along. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We really appreciate the support. Thank you guys. Be safe. We'll see you on another episode.